Okay, today is Tuesday, May 21st. This video is round 3. Rich Tullo, former director of research at Albert Fried, along with Anthony Katsingris and others at Albert Fried, they engaged in securities violations and fraud, as well as he himself bought and sold guns and gun-related parts at Albert Fried in the office, right, sitting right next to me. So I'm just going to go over some of these points here. And show you some videos of him as I showed you with me yesterday, me appearing on Bloomberg. So he appears on Bloomberg and other media outlets, including CNBC specifically, basically pumping and dumping. So here are some of the differences and key points here. To be clear, Rich Tullo is a sell-side analyst. I am not a sell-side analyst. I was a special situation merger arbitrage strategist, and I cover names and then I move on. I don't have a buy, sell, hold recommendations on them. He does, and he intentionally pump and dumps them, front runs them, because there's a house account that he has access to, along with Anthony Katsingris, Mr. Fried, his daughter, and other individuals. I don't. Okay, unfortunately, as I say here, I'm sitting in a small room, witnessing all of this. I record him doing some of this stuff during the time that I was employed there with him from 2013 to 2017. Again, to be clear, the illegal activities predated my employment. So I started June 17, 2013, but they existed years prior to me even getting there, maybe even decades. And so the New York Stock Exchange member firm, Albert Fried, before it was acquired, was on the exchange for 99 years. So they didn't do this for 99 years, but they did it for however long Mr. Tullo started. I think he started sometime in 2011, 2010 or 11, prior to me joining them in 2013. So whatever he was doing, it started after that. As it relates to him, the other stuff that they were engaging in, as far as the New York Stock Exchange being a member firm, they have access to that information. They were trading that prior to even him joining that firm, Albert Fried. So this has been going on for a while. As far as, here we go, our friend Ian, there we go, see? So every day we have somebody new, and the same people doing the same things also. All right. So as I was saying, they were fortunate enough not to be sanctioned or fined by the New York Stock Exchange prior to them selling themselves to TD Bank, TD Securities. The only other instance that there was I think back in the late 60s or 70s, where Mr. Fried was fined by the SEC, and then nothing happened. So this continued, nothing happened. Then finally, I whistleblew on them externally. The SEC fined them, not related to what I disclosed, but some other factors, including suspicious activity action reports, which caused them a $300,000 fine in June of 2016. 3 months later, September 13, 2016, they sold themselves to TD Bank, TD Securities for $61.2 million for one-time book. Okay, so they sold them because they knew more information was going to be coming out, me being a whistleblower, and they were not going to be able to sell themselves for anything close to one-time book or $61.2 million. So I just want to let you know that, to be clear, Anthony Katsingris parted ways with his friends. So Anthony Katsingris, Rich Tullo, peas in a pod. So Anthony Katsingris is the Chief Compliance Officer, Chief Operating Officer at Albert Fried, former Albert Fried. And so they were working in tandem in this scheme to generate illegal profits, legal gains for the house account in Albert Fried, without anybody knowing, including the SEC, FINRA, the New York Stock Exchange, clients, internal clients, external clients, investors, shareholders, and obviously everybody that Rich Tullo was pitching his buy, sell, or hold recommendations as far as stocks that he was covering, which were about 15 plus names. Okay, so the other component here is when the deal closed, they terminated Rich Tullo. So I was the whistleblower. I recorded everything. Rich Tullo was his co-conspirator, the person that engaged in securities violations and fraud, in addition to buying and selling guns. But that's a separate issue. So he got rid of him, and he got rid of me, the whistleblower. And so the reason why they did that is because they just wanted to say, hey, we terminated the whistleblower at the same time as the person that's engaged in securities violations and fraud, and we're not going to distinguish the two. We're just going to say it's merger related. We're closing the merger and we're terminating several people. One, me, the whistleblower. Two, Rich Tullo, the person that's engaged in securities violations and fraud. So he specifically engaged in pump and dump, front running, and other schemes. And so Anthony Katsingris, what he did was to cover all this up, basically terminated me and him at the same point, January 3rd, 2017. TD Bank, TD Securities, from my understanding, was not aware of it at that point. Obviously, because why would they acquire a company for $61.2 million or even one-time book? It's not even worth one-time book if they're acquiring liabilities that total $100+ million. Makes no sense, but that's what they ended up doing. They got fooled, and then when I filed my SEC and SOX claim against them, they covered it up along with Anthony. So Anthony at that point covered it up. From my understanding, we never had depositions or any material documents that were shared with us. So we never knew when he told David Santina, who is now terminated from TD Bank, TD Securities, TD Prime Services, and other individuals from TD Bank, TD Securities, when he told them when. But we do know that he gave them that knowledge, and that knowledge is protected activity in the context that he knew that I was a whistleblower. He hid that from them, and then he hid also the securities violations and fraud. All of this is in the legal filings, so I'm just summarizing it, going off. I really just wanted to focus on the videos here. So I just wanted, before I do that, I just wanted to show you the summary here. So Rich Tullo talking about House of Cards, aside from Pandora, which I'll go over in a minute. So Time Warner, and so he doesn't cover Time Warner August 5th, but he provides a recommendation on the stock. He mentions News Corp as a company that dropped his offer when it was actually 21st Century, so he was wrong there. Again, as expected, he takes another hit on Netflix because he's short it. So specifically, he is short Netflix on the house account, but he takes a hit on Netflix, on TV, on CNBC. Okay, so let's see what happens on his appearance, where he also says that he adds the position, Time Warner, here into Albert Fried's house account days and weeks later. And then on January 26th, Rich Tullo initiates coverage on Time Warner with a buy and $90 price target, but he also owns it in the house account. So he owns in the house account, front running. He initiates coverage, but he tells other people, so he's also front running and pumping. And then he buys the stock with a buy. Now he pumps it with the point of dumping it at some higher value than he bought it. That's a pump and dump scheme. He initiates the front running, pumps and dumps it, pumps and then later dumps it. So he does that for Time Warner. He does that for other names. So just FYI, the report on January 21st, it says Albert Fried policy does not allow any analyst to own shares of any company that he covers, but he owns it. And so that's not true at all. Okay, and the reason why they say that is because they're not the wiser on the report. So let's see some of these videos here where he's appearing, talking about Time Warner and then AT&T.
The natural reaction, of course, with us and the media and everybody is, who's next? Do you think this deal, assuming it is done?
So I filmed this a while back because I knew that they were going to delete some of these videos online, and some of these videos they actually did delete. Some of them are still there, but some of them are deleted. Okay, there we go. $107 price target. So it's not even 90 anymore. It's 107. This is after the fact. So let's just see the disclosures here. Ownership? No. Conflicts? Yes. makes a market in Time Warner shares. So they do that in the New York Stock Exchange, but he does not say that he owns the shares here. Okay, he owns the shares in the house account. So he says he owns the shares in the market, makes a market in these shares. That's the New York Stock Exchange function for Albert Fried. So he says he doesn't own it. So that's not true. Okay, so he does own it in the house account. Okay, so continues to talk. He talks about Pandora. Okay, he talks about Netflix, blah, blah, blah. We just talked about that. Okay, let's just move on. I can share these videos later.
Oh, that all right. So what happened?
Okay, let's talk about Netflix in a minute. So here we go. Time Warner again. Okay.
Done an excellent job in turning around this company.
At Time Warner.
$14 a share a couple of years ago. AOL almost bankrupt.
Okay, so he talks about this again.
TNT.
Here we go again. Disclosures this time. No. Yes, and guess what? As a broker-dealer, Albert Fried has accounts that have positions and trade on against its research, but they never say that they own the shares in their house account. So this is misleading, and so they are basically putting this up to cover themselves, but actually does not cover themselves. It is not true at all. So this portion is pretending to be true, but it's actually not, because they own it in the house account. And so when they say other accounts, they also mean other accounts that they advise on with their clients on the New York Stock Exchange in relation to those clients, but it does not talk about the house account. So here we go. He talks about this. This is Blair's $86. And so this is when he is talking about it, and he has not initiated coverage on it. So he talks about it on TV, puts on the position, knows that he could initiate it, so then he front runs it, and then he basically tells his friends and his clients to buy it because he's going to be initiating coverage. Then he pumps it, wanting the stock to go higher. He pumps it, goes higher, and then he basically sells it.
So why is this company worth more in the management's view than what News Corp was willing to pay?
Okay, so this is where he's actually trying to sending it down so he can pick up coverage. Okay, so he is actually waiting for it to drop, buying it in the house account, and then he's going to do exactly what I said. Basically promote it, front run it, initiate coverage on it, pump it, and then dump it. Right, and so nobody's the wiser on what's going on at Albert Fried, Rich Tullo, and by the way, this is all in the assistance and understanding with Ed Daniele and the compliance officer, and Anthony Katsingris, the chief compliance officer. So I just want to go over Netflix here. So this is what he does. So he literally puts on a position at Netflix. He stops covering it. But he's recommending a short. So he basically puts out saying that he thinks the stock should go even lower in a few months. He expects to drop $200 to $250 to $260. Okay, so he gives these print comments and quotes. He does this because he's short it. So he is literally telling you that he doesn't cover it, but he's recommending a short because he is short it. But he does not tell you that he is short it in the house account at Albert Fried. But so when he's doing that, he's not disclosing that he is functioning as a sell-side analyst and not as a buy-side hedge fund analyst at Albert Fried. So when they're getting these comments, they have no idea what he's saying. They think that he's providing them the truth. In actuality, he's actually providing them the truth that's basically engaging in securities violations and fraud and violation his role as a broker through FINRA rules, and it says right here, see, Albert Fried, Rich Tullo, my colleague, Bubba, thinks that the reason that rival Netflix, he is upset at CEO Hastings streaming service, and basically he's saying here that they're going to basically kill him off, right? Kill off Spacey. This is years ago, obviously, and so he's saying this, and then obviously Spacey's camp saying that theory is ridiculous and hurtful, and the reason why he's saying that is because he wants the stock to go down because he's short it. Okay, so again, this is Netflix. And this is Benzinga, where he says initial call, he was stuck with his guns and he's finally been rewarded with his effort. Prefers to buy cash flow cheap opposed to buying momentum and very high prices. There's no doubt that Netflix falls into this category, right? So he's basically, I'm going to go in that in a minute. So he just continues to talk about Netflix. Here is Netflix commentary that he talks about.
Good now with Rich Tullo. He is Director of Research.
Okay, so in regards to House of Cards, Kevin Spacey's an actor, is a lead actor. On average, generates about $10 million in the box office, which translates into about 1 million people. That Kevin Spacey, it costs $100 million over 2 years.
Okay, so this is, he is talking about Netflix. Here we go. No. Okay, on CNBC. So he owns a short on the House account where Mr. Fried is also short Netflix in this situation for an extended period of time. And so he is no, and he is short it, and he comes on TV basically trashing it because he wants the stock to go down, right? And he's talking about other names. So that's what he does here. And then, so here is Benzinga, and he says it from the get-go.
Guys, we're talking Netflix is what we did. And I know you're not covering the stock anymore, but I still have an opinion on it. That thing is,
Yeah, I mean, I dropped it to short it.
I dropped it to short it.
Worked out halfway. I lost money to short it. In fact, last couple of weeks.
okay. And holding on the short side, or?
No, I took 2/3 off and still got a third of my short on.
Okay. All right. So if you're covering
options ladder between 200 and 300.
Okay.
So now he's talking about options. So he's literally talking that he has these put options, and he's coming and going on media and basically promoting that and pumping that because he wants it to trade lower. So he does not disclose that that he should not be doing this.
Good. And so obviously, if you're
because he's not functioning as a buy-side analyst, he's functioning as a sell-side analyst.
So, but I mean, it was fundamentally, we have more competition. We have a lot of issues.
Okay.
Okay. All right. That's Rich Tullo.
Okay, we have our friends here from before.
Yeah, we put some MSG in there too.
Okay, all right, that's exactly. All right, Rich Tullo, Albert follows in the sector. It's a good sector to follow. Rich, thank you very much for coming on the show, and we hope to have you.
I don't think we're back properly, but young men should go and that kind of thing.
There is a time where here in this video, he actually asked him, you're allowed to do this, and he actually says yes. So I will post that later and just move on.
It's the same thing I did.
Here is another one where he's talking on Benzinga, and so listen to what this guy says, Rich Tullo, about compliance at Albert Fried.
That is Rich Tullo, Director of Research at Albert Fried and Company. Rich, what's your Twitter handle so I can put it into the chat to have people follow?
Oh, you know what? Sell-side analyst, and unfortunately, I'd love to do it, but I don't have the compliance infrastructure to handle Twitter at the moment.
The man's keeping you down, Rich.
Yeah,
It's
it's unfortunate. Yeah.
All right, Rich, well, I really appreciate
I'd love to do it, but it's just, it's the man keeping me down, you know what I'm saying?
All right, Rich, we'll really appreciate you coming on the show this morning. That's Rich Tullo.
Okay, so the man is keeping him down, but allowing him to engage in securities violations and fraud, pumping and dumping and front running at Albert Fried. So he gives this false narrative that he can't be on Twitter. So he deflects that, so then they won't understand or see that he's actually doing these other violations. So it's basically camouflaging and deflecting. So this is how He's dressed up as the guy on CNBC, quite literally. Okay? So this is the other analyst, and she's looking at him saying, what is this guy doing?
Driving an RV too? What's this about?
See?
I drive Volkswagen. How much has this been? What are you driving an RV too? What's this about? I drive Volkswagen.
Okay, so it's funny, but the thing is that it's not funny when he's actually front running and pumping and dumping those names. Okay, so the last one I think I have is the Bloomberg one, where he's actually basically promoting Pandora, and so this is, and so he's been on Bloomberg and Bloomberg Radio and print, along with New York Post, Wall Street Journal, every media possible, including CNBC, and he does the same thing because he covers these names not to provide information as a sell-side analyst, but to basically promote ways for him to generate illegal profits for Albert Fried during this period of time.
Stone today, saying it now has 100 million registered users. The company also plans to broaden its automotive integration through a new relationship with Scion and is expanding its deal with Ford. Joining us in New York to discuss Pandora's lofty ambitions is Richard Tullo, the Director of Research at Albert Fried & Company. Richard just initiated coverage of Pandora with a sell rating citing, among other things, concerns over accounting practices. So, citing among initiated coverage of Pandora with a sell rating citing among
So when he has a sell rating, he has a short in the house account.
So Richard, first of all, you're telling people to sell. What are you so worried about when it comes to Pandora? Over
accounting issues.
Among other things, concerns over when it comes to Pandora.
Accounting firms said they had a material weakness in their internal controls, specifically related to revenue recognition practices. So if this is a revenue story and their accounting firm, Ernst & Young, has issues with revenue recognition, that to me, from just the point of prudence, says, you know, I can't recommend this stock at this time to my investors.
What about the fact?
That to me, from just
Okay. And so he's wanting the stock. So he's pumping the short.
Recognition. Why is this the kind of company where it's hard to recognize revenues? Is it about the duration of the subscription?
He is promoting
the company's on the
it to go down short
and years out?
because he has a short position.
That should be easy. I suspect where a revenue recognition problem will lie is in differentiating between the types of agreements they have. So, for example, you'll have a display agreement with Google, and that's a pretty easy revenue recognition process. And then you'll do a one-off deal with a major advertiser, such as Ford or Johnson & Johnson, and that's where they may have ran into problems in recognizing revenue.
Rich, you've been around the block. How many times have you seen this in an IPO?
I have not seen an IPO. I've seen it in some of the stocks that I cover from time to time. Generally, it's concerned with non-executive staff cash compensation. I've never seen it, as a company's going public with this kind of problem.
So beyond that, beyond the possible accounting things which the company sort of dismisses and says they're working on, what are your concerns about the business model for Pandora?
Well, they're going to have to pull 3 or 4 different levers in order to get to profitability. One is they're going to have to increase the amount of advertising, currently a minute an hour. They need to bring that up to about 4 or 5 minutes an hour. And since 62% of people who say they like Pandora like it for lack of commercials, that creates a kind of a conflict. So that's one issue.
There are others we'll get to. So what did you learn from Analyst Day today? I mean, the stock you came out with a sell rating on the stock today. Stock was down 6% today, which is a pretty big sell-off. Other than dancing a jig, what did you learn today after your sell rating came Analyst Day today? I mean, the stock you came out with a sell rating on the stock today. Stock was down 6% today, which is
so they communicated that information to other clients, but they put on a short position. They communicated to other people front run the information that he's gonna have a sell rating, causing its stock to come down, and then next you know he's on Bloomberg.
Today, which is a pretty big sell-off. Other than dancing a jig, what did you learn today after a sell rating came out?
What did we learn? We learned about HTML 5.0.
Okay, it's not important what he says because the goal is simple.
There, but thanks so much for joining us on Pandora. It's a story we will continue.
They call him Rich Charles instead of Rich Tullo. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna post this. This is pretty much it for round 3. There's gonna be other videos, but this is round 3. Thank you.